Good afternoon. Welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. I have been accomplishing a few items on both of the engines, the small block Chevys, 377, 421. If you haven't seen them, I've been documenting pretty much every nut and bolt that we've installed so far. And in this episode, we'll cover things I've done, things that I missed, I wished I'd done before I got to this point. That happens if you don't concentrate on something 100%, and even if you do, it's still very possible to forget things that you knew 3 or 4 years ago you wanted to do. Either way, all you can do is, what do they say? Improvise, adapt, and overcome, and move forward. So let's cover everything we've gone up until this point, and then I'll catch you at the end and go over what's next. Since the last video, I have been picking away at the 377 small block Chevy list of things to do. Left over from the last video, I had to disassemble the fuel pump, tap every other hole, 1032. It was unlike the pump I have for the 421, which had them all threaded. This only had every other one threaded. And I needed to get in a useful clock position. So I did. Fuel pump's all installed with the push rod, all bolted on. I put a short bolt here to prevent oil from coming out, because that hole goes all the way through to the fuel pump push rod. You have to make sure the fuel pump push rod doesn't contact the bolt you choose, but I'm good there. I removed the medium length Corvette water pump and put on this aluminum long pump and single groove pulleys that I had. Nothing special here. I still need to get some conical head fasteners to attach this. The center pilot sticks out a little bit. Potentially it would locate a fan spacer if you needed it, or just the fan. But it's certainly not very generous, and I'm probably going to run an electric fan anyway, so not going to worry about that. And I had an alternator bracket. We're really not going for any particular look here, even though we have now holes and holes. I guess that's a look. I'm okay with, strictly utilitarian, and/or it looks like you just threw a bunch of parts together you bought at a flea market, because that's what I did. I installed the comp cams, used, but in really nice shape. Hydraulic retrofit roller cam. It's like 540, 560 lift. 290, 300 advertised duration, which is quite a bit. 110 lobe separation angle. And what appeared to be limited travel, because I've been messing with the travel of the lifter while I was checking for push rod length. Roller lifters, retrofit, they got tie bars where the factory would have had the spider that holds the lifters still. So I did take a cylinder head out of the box, and using my adjustable push rod, one rocker arm, and the plastic push rod length checker, I came up with a set of push rods I found online. Unless you're having custom push rods made, you're going to fall into probably 50 thousandths or 100 thousandths, gaps between available push rods. But in this case, I bought some one-piece chromoly 5/16. I believe this 7.250 long, 7.250, which is very similar to a factory roller cam small block Chevy. So we're in the range. I can already tell the solid roller lifters comp cams as well. For the 421 is going to take a much longer push rod, just the way the cup sits in the push rod. So I neglected, and I guess I'll really wait till I have two, enough push rods to do both the intake and exhaust on one cylinder, just to double check or check piston to valve clearance. I haven't done that yet, so that's still on my list. So I won't go ahead and bolt the heads on. But I was doing some compression ratio calculations, just using the online calculators. And I did 3 or 4. Some take a lot more information into consideration, like the bore of the cylinder head gasket, etc. So to really pinpoint the accuracy, in both cases, I was curious because they're both 4155 bore. This is 348 stroke, and the 421 is 3875 stroke. But the 421 has a dish in the piston. That's a 10 cc dish, where this is considered by the part number of the piston a +5. So using all that information, this engine came up with 11.1 to 1. And this, again, I was unsure with all the extra stroke what the compression ratio would be, but it's 10.94. So in both cases, this is going to have the 421 a much larger camshaft. It's 660 lift, 110 lobe separation angle, and a similar duration. So in both cases, I think at low speed, they might bleed off enough compression to make it drivable on 93 octane. Either way, that's what we're going to do. I mean, you can drive on probably 87 if you're not going to strain the engine at all. If you were, you need to get some more octane. So pretty simple. If you're just putting around, you can run almost anything. The cylinder heads for the 377 are ATK 185 intake runner, 64 cc chamber. They're fully assembled. The valve springs on them are good for 600 lift, so I only have 560, so that's a good match. Rated for a hydraulic roller. They give you the seat pressure and everything, so that's pretty good right out of the box. I bought these used. They're brand new. I bought them used from my buddy Ken a few months ago. And I called ATK, the tech line, because they have one, and I wanted to know, and a lot of cylinder head manufacturers will tell you, the angle to drill the steam holes. I need to drill these two holes 6 times in the head between each cylinder. Over here it goes straight in. This one needs to be an angle, sometimes 20, 30, up to 45 degrees. So you hit this coolant port over here. And all the tech guy could repeat was if I drilled heads in the holes in the cylinder head, I was going to void the warranty. I don't care. If I ruin it, I'll throw it in the trash. But I wanted to know, if he happened to know, the angle I should be drilling. So I'm just going to gingerly do the first one, probably 30 degrees. Again, straight in's a home run. The more important one, because this is, up when the cylinder head is sitting on the engine like that. No doubt the upper steam hole is more important. So a lot of people don't drill any holes if they're just drag racing or whatever reason they think they don't have to. Some people just drill the easy one, the straight in one. And as usual in life, the easy way out is seldom the best. And the hardest path is. So we'll mark it. I have some new cylinder head dowels. I'll put my gasket on, use a transfer punch, and put it in the mill. A lot of people do it by hand, which I could do, but I want to be pretty accurate on my 30 degree or whatever degree I determine is going to work. So I'll probably make a fixture and put it in the mill and ultimately hope for the best. I had a set of Liberty Performance 200cc heads intended for the 377, but I used them on the 383 Chevrolet Performance engine that I threw together for the Nova. And that already had steam ports in it. The Liberty Performance heads, thought enough, despite being offshore castings assembled here in America, at least they thought of the steam hole for the 400 small block Chevy guys. The steam holes are not that common otherwise. So for a cylinder head gasket, this is a 17031. It's a 4-200 bore. It has the steam holes. It's a marine gasket. The same gasket I did put on the Nova. So far so good. I've only driven it around the driveway, but it seems fine. My other head gasket choice is this Felpro 1143. It's an MLS style, kind of a hybrid. From what I read, they're a little short right here, so you have to make sure to seal up you know, where the intake manifold is to the edge of the cylinder head, because that's a little bit short. Your RA surface finish on your head and deck needs to be really smooth, almost mirror-like, they claim. And I was contemplating back and forth which cylinder head gasket to use, but on this one they only give you the upper steam hole. So I'm going to do a little more research. There is no lower steam hole. Again, the upper one's more important, but potentially if I use that I can drill less holes, but the difficult hole is still the one you need to drill. So more research required. I might as well make a jig that probably attaches to the accessory bolt holes on the small block Chevy cylinder head, because the racing head service up there in the orange box, 64cc chamber, 235 intake runner cylinder heads that I have that are bare, I'm going to build for the 421. No doubt I'm going to need steam holes as well. It's no doubt that in a lot of ways I'm pretty strange. One of them is I carry around paperwork that I think is important in my back pocket. In this case, there's a couple pieces of literature my brother included that he had copied. When I bought the parts for the 377, let's just say several years ago, I've been carrying this around in my pocket. And this is titled Small Block 400 Cooling Tips and Tricks. And basically it covers this hole in the deck. This is the 377. It has the hole. This block is good to go. It matches up with the hole that Felpro added in the gasket. It's supposed to help coolant flow in the middle of the engine anyway, because a 400 block is Siamesed and there's minimal cooling between the cylinders. Despite this important information being in my back pocket the entire time I was working on the 421, doing, you know, block prep, I wish I had noticed I needed to drill the hole. So now I will tape this all off and rotate the engine so any chips that I'm going to make are going to fall off after I install the oil pan and everything. So, I mean, by rights, I should strip the entire engine apart and do it, but I think I can accomplish it. The cast iron drill's really easy, and the chips are really manageable. They're not even sharp. They just kind of fall off like dirt. So I think I can do it. I'm going to do it. I'll rotate it. You know, I'll do it upside down if I have to, so all the chips fall away. But not my proudest moment, because that's what happens when you pick at things here and there and you miss things. Only human. So now I get to work twice as hard to correct the problem, because there's no way I can allow myself to not do some modification that's supposed to be a good improvement. So, oh well. So the last few weeks I've been busy doing other things. I wished I had accomplished more. I wish that my mess of engine parts was, you know, kind of focused into two piles, all bolted together. But we're getting there. You can't rush this stuff. I have some transmission work to do the rest of the week, so this is what happens. I get to the point, it's all fresh in my head, and then I stop for 2-3 days, a weekend. Probably next week before I get to work on it again if I'm lucky. So that's just the way it goes. And I'm used to that, juggling different things, and occasionally, you know, it bites. I can't get too upset about the hole in the cylinder head. I had completely forgotten about that piece of paperwork that I've been sitting on for a long time. Now, when I say a couple of years, it's more than that. That poor piece of paper's half wore up. Been a lot of miles, seen a lot of things. So, I can't believe it's the middle of the week already. And yeah, better get busy. It's been pretty warm out, but nice and cool here in the shop. So it's a nice place to be. Next up, I'm going to shoot a shop update video, because there's other things going on that aren't in the range of the camera that might be interesting. So some transmission related, some not. So be sure to tune in, and have a great evening. I'll talk to you soon.